very harsh, but most people's content suck is because they suck.
Yeah.
Because you're someone of no interest. If you're a fitness trainer, you need to be in good shape. If you're supposed to be good at business, you should probably have a good business and have something you can talk about.
I think it's not the best, because let's say your parents are overweight. Like, let's just talk realistic. Your parents are overweight. You're then brought up on crap food, right? Because you actually have no choice. You're probably just going to be fed. You don't have finances to go buy your own stuff. Probably until you get to the age of at least 16, you're brought up eating crap. But then at the age of 16, you then have a choice if you want to eat crap anymore. Because it costs money, but it doesn't cost a fortune to start eating healthy.
If anyone is a father who's very overweight, you should be fairly ashamed of yourself, because what will happen is that your kids will then start to model what you do, and they'll pick up your bad habits, and you're destining like them into a life of obesity, health issues, eating disorders, all this kind of stuff.
Okay, so next podcast is in. We have Charlie Johnson. When did we meet? We meet when I first came to Dubai. I always knew of you through the social media. We met when we first came to Dubai. It was a yacht party. It was a yacht event that you had. It was a yacht event. Charlie invited me to a yacht event. We met up, and I think since then our friendships always kind of compounded up. So just say a little bit about yourself. Who you are, what you do, and everything like that.
My backstory, so for anyone who's interested, I was originally a failed personal trainer at 18, became a ski instructor for 6 months, then came back to the UK, and then became an estate agent, like probably the most hated job in the UK. Did that for 5-6 years. I then set up an online fitness business called CJ Coaching as like my Gary Vee side hustle. That really took off, and I went full steam into that. I was probably one of the first people to do that. I built that business to having over 8,000 clients. And we still have that now, and has about 800 active clients at the moment. That business now runs separately. I now mainly run 7-Figure Scaling Systems, which is a business that helps trainers turn their passion into a profit. I also moved to Dubai 2.5 years ago, which is how we met, and just looking to try and give people as much help as I can to either get in great shape or change their financial futures, because a lot of people helped me out when I was younger, and I know a lot of this audience might be younger. So my intention today is give as much value to try and help those people as much as possible, so that they take one thing away from this that can allow them to take the next step in their life.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. Like I say, it's just the empire that you've built, and it all started with being, you said, an estate agent, right? What was the main thing at what point did you get to where you thought a estate agent isn't good enough? I'm better than this.
I'm not going to say I always thought I was better than that, but I had the dream of what everyone wanted, right? When I was 21 years old, my goal was to make £100,000 a year. As an estate agent, I wasn't making that in pounds. I was making about £75,000 a year. It's like managing a branch of estate agents, and it was about 100,000 US. I had a house, I had a nice car, I had like manager, I could do whatever I wanted at work, really. Like, I had it all on paper, but I wasn't happy because I had a drive to want more, and I knew I could do more, and I knew I had more of an ability. And one beautiful thing happened to me, which is when I actually got this job as an estate agent, the guys who actually ran it were like really hardcore entrepreneurs, like were in there grinding like 7:30 a.m. And I saw how they built this business, how they had nice cars, how they were driven, how people looked up to them, how people respected them when they walked into rooms. And that had a profound impact on me. But what then happened, about 4 years after joining that business, they got sold to a corporate business, the Leaders Women's Property Group, which was basically a bunch of old women running a corporate company who then came in. And you see from one extreme to the other, and then all my inspiration was basically gone. And then I didn't have the ability to grow more there. And I also saw in that transition the opportunity I've had of, I want time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. You're not getting that working for someone else. And for me, I think the biggest regret most people are going to have in their life is what if? What if I went and did this? What if I moved to Dubai? And I'd rather go and give it a try and go all in. And if it fails, it'd be a cool story. And if it didn't work, I could have gone back to being an estate agent. If it did work, my entire life changes and I get to fulfill my dreams.
Yeah. I have the same mentality even with the bodybuilding. When I was competing, it's like, let's say you do the prep and you step on stage and you lose, but you just say, I couldn't have given anything. That is literally everything I had. The same kind of mentality with the business. And that's what I get with my coaching now as well. Like on my end, it's, I don't know, like you always have a vision to where you can get things. You can only accept, or personally I can only accept not getting there, knowing I literally give everything. Like I literally left everything on the table to get there, and I know there's a great saying, you know, people who put in the time, effort, and non-stop, whether you call it luck, whether you call it whatever you want, do get somewhere. But yeah, I can relate to that kind of mentality.
Something I'd say is success is guaranteed, but speed is not. So like if you work really fucking hard every single day and you turn up and you're consistent and you get someone to help you and you ask good questions and you just keep going and you work, nothing happens. Work, nothing happens. Work, nothing happens. Bang, suddenly you become an overnight success.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. But most people aren't willing to put like the chips on the table and try something, or aren't willing to get rejection or failure for a period of time, or people to ask them, why are you starting this business? Like for me, for example, I remember people were like talking behind my back of like, why is Charlie posting topless photos of himself on the internet? Like, why is Charlie doing this? Why is he doing this? Why is he saying he's an online coach now? Who does he think he is? And I distinctly know one person who did this. And probably about 4 years after I started the business and was like reasonably successful at that point, I saw him and he saw me and I was like, motherfucker. Like he knew and I knew. And I was like, you know, no one has to say anything. I was like, sometimes like revenge and like success is the best revenge.
Yeah. And I did a podcast not that long ago about this one. It's like, whenever you kind of start to post and start to become more online, posting videos, recording videos of yourself, I think as long as if you're doing it for you and it's your passion, that's what you want to do, doesn't matter what anyone else has to say. Like the first time I stepped in front of a camera was 15-year-old, and it wasn't cool to do it then. Yeah. I used to record myself in my bedroom, whether it be posing or whatever it might be, post-workout, changing room videos, whatever it is, like we're posing. And I even used to practice sat speaking to the camera. Yeah. As stupid as that sounds, it was the uncoolest thing ever. And that's the thing. It's like, that's just one thing I've always got into. And at the time, when I first start posting the videos, the photos, you're always going to get the people who's going to think, God, look at this. Like, what is he doing? But it's not until you start to get somewhere, then people then start to think, and then it becomes normal. But it would have never become normal if you listen to the person, right?
So at the start, they'll ask you, why are you doing this? And then they'll ask you, how have you done this?
Why am I doing in terms of
why are you taking photos? Why are you like trying to coach people online?
Yeah.
And then 3 to 4 years later, they'll look back and be like, how have you done all this, Brad?
Yeah. Yeah. Why I did it was actually, it's almost like a diary for me. My Instagram is my own diary. I could tell you everything that's on my Instagram. But to be honest with you, I don't really care how many other people know what's on my Instagram. Because if I scroll down, I'm like, yeah, that's when I was injured. Next, it comes up the surgery. After the surgery, I know I had rehab. This is where I started the coaching company and things like that. Like, to me, it's like a storyboard of my life. And I don't know, you might be able to relate to it, but that's generally why I started posting my journey. That's why I would record a back, I can go back down and get a deadlift PB of what I got. And I remember that PB. Yeah. I didn't even post it for the people. I posted generally for myself. Yeah. And I think when you've got a bit of an interesting storyboard like that, people then start to follow because people can relate to it. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to social media. A lot of people are so obsessed of hitting the next best trend, of doing something that's not them. Like, if you just stick to what you do in your life and make it interesting, people start to follow. If it's not interesting, then start making it interesting. You know what I mean? Start doing interesting things.
And become an interesting person. Yes. I think the reason, this is very harsh, but most people's content suck is because they suck.
Yeah.
Because you're someone of no interest. Yeah. If you're a fitness trainer, you need to be in good shape. If you're supposed to be good at business, you should probably have a good business and have something you can talk about. And that's the reality, is where most people are like, oh, this content's not working. And it's like, it's not often the content or the strategy of the content, it's the person in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it's the way they talk. Like, even for me, for example, I've got a speaking coach, which is something I'm trying to improve on, because speaking is a skill. Rather, when you see a lot of people talk, they're like, and like, as soon as someone says I'm like, you're retarded, dude. Like, just, if anyone is in that situation and you're in that, like, you're that person, just, and I'll probably do this on this podcast now, just pause and just let yourself think for a minute.
I think it's always best, like, because speaking is the biggest skill. I think speaking is one of the most, and it's the most valuable skills that you can have, I think, in your life. To be able to communicate well, to be able to take your time when you're on camera. And when I first went on camera, I was terrible. I was like a rabbit in headlights. I stood there, Geordie accent as Geordie can get, and spoke at about 100 miles an hour when no one could understand me. And that was me when I first started out.
Well, I remember being good on Instagram. I remember trying to start a YouTube channel, And the video stop. If someone searches Charlie Johnson Fitness on YouTube, it'll come up. You can look back at my first YouTube videos. I remember standing on Reigate Hill and it was like spring and it was green. It was really, really nice. Someone stuck a camera on my face. I was like, what the fuck do I say now? And it's just awkward. And I remember being my business I launched from a shed in my garden. And this was like the grind time of like, I'd get up at 5 a.m., go and work in my little shed office, which had no heating and no fucking air conditioning in the summer. I'd put a woolly hat on because it was so cold and have like a radiator between my legs. And I would then start doing my Shredded Show podcast I started doing in there. I remember the first time I did that, I was like, I'm talking to myself in a shed with a microphone. And like, this is a really weird scenario. But eventually you get used to it. And it's, no one is born great 10 out of 10 out of the box at something. Yeah. You acquire skills by doing repetition and doing enough volume to eventually get good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always like, you look, but I think if you don't look back at what you were doing 2 years ago and cringe, there's a problem. That's always what I run by. If you scroll down your feed or whatever you posted last year or the year after and you don't cringe in a small way, you've not outgrown your old self. Because I scroll back to what I used to do or maybe write or post or my grammar that I used to write with and it was like, what am I doing? But it's good that you can see that and I think the person that you evolve to be. And I think same comes down to everything, like every aspect with training. If you don't watch old training videos back and look like your form's horrendous and I can fix X, Y, and Z, it's good that you start to notice this. But I think if you don't notice it, that's the biggest problem because you're not changing.
The most valuable thing that anyone can do after listening to this podcast is self-reflection. Yep. So one of the best things I do every single week is I would use my iPad and I'll get an app called the Day One app, which is a journaling app. I have 8 to 10 questions I ask myself every single week. Mainly predominantly business based, but it's to review my week of what's happened. What was the main focus? Did I achieve it? What's the main focus for this week coming on? What did I achieve in my personal life? What did I achieve in my business? Because a lot of the time, in particular as like very driven men, you gloss over the achievements of what you've done that's been productive because we're like, chase. I've got to do the next thing, got to do the next thing. And it's only when you actually look back and be like, fuck, I've actually done some pretty sick stuff this week. And then you look back a couple more weeks and you're like, shit, I've done all this stuff. And all those weeks start to stack and compound. And in particular, like your age, dude, like you're killing it already. That where you'll be in 10 years' time is frightening. Yeah. One topic that I want to touch upon, I just thought of it there when you were speaking, is how important do you think it is? How important and how much more of a benefit do you think it is being in shape when it comes to business and when it comes to relationships in general? So as a whole, like how important is it in daily life for you to be in shape? Because like I say, you competed in the past, but you're not competing now. That doesn't mean that you still don't train every day, eat well, eat your meals, get your sleep in, get your recovery in. Because here's what I would say, like you still might spend 2 hours in the gym. You still might spend extra time sleeping so you can recover better. And people could say, but you could spend it doing your business work. Why is it so important to you to stay in shape around it all? Firstly, I'd say the most important part of self-respect is looking after yourself first. And then I'd say secondly that your body is a postcard of like who you are. So for example, if I look at someone and they're overweight and out of shape, they lack discipline, they lack consistency, they don't have delayed gratification. All the core skills you need to be very successful at business. So if I saw someone like that and they came to me a business opportunity, am I going to want to work with them? No. Because they're also not aligned with my values. So I don't have any friends who are out of shape because we all think and act the same way. And in my opinion, if you're going to be successful in business, consistency, discipline, hard work, all that jazz, same thing for fitness. Which is why anyone listening to this, if you're successful in business, you should be successful in fitness. If you're successful in fitness, you should be successful in business because the two actually sit very closely together. And one of the things you actually said there was very interesting in terms of, you're wasting time like sleeping more because you could get up and just like sleep 4 hours a day and then not have to fucking, and you could work more. It's not about how hard you work, it's what you work on and working on the right things. Because there's a lot of busy fools in this world right now who work very, very hard but achieve very little. The reality is if you work hard on the right things that actually work and give you leverage, then you can actually achieve big things very, very quickly. And that's where I'm finding in particular as like my business career is progressing and growing is that one of the key things I have to do is actually protect my energy. Because if I don't have high amounts of energy, I can't think correctly. And the most valuable thing anyone can do, like yourself, anyone listening to this, is thinking. Like rich people don't work, they think. And too many people are just stuck in like the weeds, like doing the thing, and they don't actually ever lift their head up to like look what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think it's just being in shape as a whole. I always say when you wake up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror, the first thing, like, the least you could do is look good. Where you got your top on, top off, whatever it is, at least look good, because that's the first image that starts your day. When you wake up in the morning, getting up with feeling unfit, got a bad back, like all these things, it's just starting the day in the wrong terms. And it is true what you say. It's, I think that's why I would say like bodybuilding, because that's where I started, was the greatest teacher of my life. Like that taught me everything. And then, obviously, like as I kind of developed friendships with yourself and understood the business game more, it was kind of just applying what I did to build a physique.
It's the same thing.
Into business.
Same thing, different vehicle.
Yeah.
And this is why I get excited talking about this, because it's exactly the same thing. And it's why I like business more to a lot of respects, is it's infinitely improvable. And there's a lot more variables in play which make it more interesting. Whereas to some degree, like training, there's only X, Y, Z things you can really do. And I think something that's important for people to really understand, that when they're looking to achieve huge success in life, it comes down to stacking wins.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you don't have confidence in who you are and the way you look, and I also think what's very important, particularly for men, is to have a physical presence, then you're going to let yourself down and lack confidence. And generally, there's no way in this world that if you walk into the fucking room and you feel like the fucking top G man, that you're going to be more successful than if you were less confident. So the more confidence you have in yourself, the more risks you're going to take, the more things you're going to try, the more people are going to gravitate to you because you're a confident individual. Yeah. You then get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think people view you in a different way. People treat you in a different way. And it's not like, of course you like it, but I think you can't lie that they do. Does that make sense? 100%. It's like if someone asks you like, no, they do. They literally do. And
this is why I like American culture, because I went to 2 masterminds in the US recently, and like they were non-fitness ones, right? So I'm like the fucking big jack dude from Dubai. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, so like, but what you notice, it's like tribal mentality. Men tend to gravitate around like the bigger human beings. Yeah. And it's just, that's when you look back at actually how human beings think and work. I would just notice people seem to crowd around me.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing when you think back of, for your long-term success in life, that almost gives you an element of power, because you're already seen as perceived status because you're a bigger human being.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like, without denying it as well, it's a competitive world. Females, they have their own. I don't really get involved. But like in terms of males, in terms of business, looking good, feeling good and being strong, I think it's competitive. Like it or not like it, it's like, it is competitive. If you're going to sit there and be average, you're going to get taken over very quick. If you're going to sit there and be out of shape, you're always going to feel out of shape. And whatever it is, whether you get into relationships, you put tops on, you put clothes on, you go out with your friends, deep down, you're the person who feels like, I don't feel great. He's better than me. And I think like people think this a lot, but don't say this a lot. Everybody goes out with a group of lads and you're thinking, I am the smallest here. My mate looks better than me tonight. For example, you go out with your girlfriend. Your girlfriend's looking at someone.
Yeah.
You think that she likes them. Why? Yeah. Because they're bigger than you, they're better than you, they're stronger than you. And it's like, I think it's deep down like a lot of guys feel this, but this is where I feel like you can overcome their obstacles. I understand it's not all about physique. I get that. But I definitely think before you improve a mentality standpoint for yourself, you can improve your physical standpoint. When you start actually looking better, feeling better, I feel like then you can start transferring that upstairs.
Life is player versus player. So like, if it's for the woman you want, for the job you want, for the money you want, for the client you want, for the crypto trade you want, like if someone's buying, someone's selling, someone's getting fucked over and losing the situation. Yep. It's just the reality of the way it is. And the easiest thing that every single person in this world has control of right now is the way they look. You control what you eat, you control how much you sleep, you control what you do every day. And that's the easiest win you can then stack. And then the beauty of what happens if you're in really good shape, not that you just have like huge confidence in the way you look, which helps, and you get a bit of pride and aura about you, but you can also think clearly. Because most people eat like moronic 13-year-old children eating junk food and shit all the time, their brain is so fucked up with brain fog, and like their sugars like blood sugars bouncing up and down. They can't even think straight. They can't focus, which is why they're scrolling like cat videos on TikTok about every 3 seconds of the day.
Yeah. And I think, but them people are the people who don't have the time to get in shape.
The cat videos, bro. But like the reality is, this is like the most extreme framework. Elon Musk set up SpaceX and Tesla at the same fucking time. Sometimes I think to myself, like, oh, it's really difficult to have this online coaching fitness business and like this mastermind that run at the same time. And then I think like, dude's putting people in fucking like space and sending rockets up there that land themselves. And he's also set up like the biggest car company in the world with electric vehicles all at the same time.
Yeah.
Context.
Yeah. And the other guys are doing the same, still find the time to train, still find the time to get in shape. And I was used to do that. Like, you get a kind of lot of, what do you call it, objections of people saying I don't have the time. Until I started to coach somebody and people who were running 3, 4, 5 businesses with 4 or 5 kids, and they found the time to train 3 times a week, I just stopped taking it as an excuse. Like anybody who tells me, I just refuse to believe that you don't have the time. But it's like, I think especially for the younger generation, this more applies to, like the whole social media stuff, I think wastes so much time of what you could actually be working on yourself. Do I open up my social media? Yeah, of course, because it's, in today's world, but I don't spend long on there. But when I do spend time on there, it is beneficial because I follow friends that motivate me and inspire me and are doing the same mission. And anything else that I look at is educational or motivational. If something's not, if someone posts something or I'd stop liking it, I just unfollow it. I never want to see it again. And I feel like social media today is completely full of crap. Like you're watching something about a cat, like jumping around the place. Like you've completed your life. Does that make sense? And it's usually the opposite effect.
And this is the reality why the world's getting stupider and stupider, because what people have to understand is that you are like what you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounding yourself with garbage, you put garbage in your brain, you're going to put garbage out your brain in terms of the way you think. Yeah. So the reality is like I'm very conscious of who I talk to, who I hang around with, who like I wouldn't have anyone around me who's got like negative energy. Like he's almost like repulsive to me. And that's a really, really important thing for people to protect. And sometimes those can be the people who are closest to you, sometimes have to push away. And often that can sometimes be your family that try and hold you back because they're trying to do that from a place of love because they don't understand what you're trying to do.
Yep.
Like when I set up an online coaching business in 2016 and I started posting photos of myself in pink swimming shorts and shaving my legs, my mum's like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? Yeah. Like, and it was like taking the piss out of me. And it would actually hurt a bit at the time. But then she just didn't understand because they're a freaking different generation, right? And this is the reality that sometimes you're going to have to take a bit of flack on the chin. And it's like I said to you earlier on, people will ask you like, why the fuck are you doing all this? And then they'll ask you how. And that's a really interesting concept when it gets to it.
Yeah. No, I get that completely. And I think a lot of people within family and relationships, they do kind of get pulled back out of more love and support and comfort more than anything else, because it's like if you're the only person that's going to break out the barrier or break out the line, then it is completely unnatural, unnormal. You're pushing yourself too much. You need to slow down. Like all these things. But I always try and get it. Okay, if you have a family that's overweight, I think it's not the best, because let's say your parents are overweight. Like, let's just talk realistic. Your parents are overweight. You're then brought up on crap food, right? Because you actually have no choice. You're probably just going to be fed. You don't have finances to go buy your own stuff. Probably until you get to the age of at least 16, you're brought up eating crap. But then at the age of 16, you then have a choice if you want to eat crap anymore. Because it costs money, but it doesn't cost a fortune to start eating healthy. Or, to at least spend your finances and invest in yourself in better nutrition. So I think from the age of 16, maybe you have to eat what you're given, but then it's a choice to be overweight and out of shape. But then I think it's the biggest test when you want to get in shape and your family is still out of shape. But somebody has to do it, because, it's always, everybody will only change from one person breaking the barrier or a big incident happen in the family due to health.
Someone gets a heart attack.
It takes someone to have a heart attack or die, and the rest of them to think shit. But they actually realise they're all in the hole, not just the person who had the heart attack. And I feel like it's the person who takes that step out, whether it's a dad for his kids, whether it's their son for their parents, or their daughter for the parents, whatever it might be. I feel like it takes someone to step up and play the bigger game and get out there, get in shape. You have to do it first. You'll get looked down upon. You're trying too hard. You're too strict. You're doing too much. You have no balance. But you can change it, I think, for your full family.
I'm going to say something that's very harsh, but I think is fair. If anyone is a father who's very overweight, you should be fairly ashamed of yourself, because what will happen is that your kids will then start to model what you do, and they'll pick up your bad habits, and you're destining like them into a life of obesity, health issues, eating disorders, all this crap. And the reality is it's within everyone's conscious control to change the situation. And you can be the first person to change like your family legacy in terms of being in shape or having financial freedom. It just takes one person who can change everything. But that one person has to be the bold one who's willing to step out and be different, to stick their head up above like the parapet to actually like be shot at, and people are going to have a bit of a pop. Yeah. But eventually people will have huge respect for what they've done. Like in my instance, for example, my entire family smokes. My entire family drinks. Right. I don't drink at all. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. So I'm like the polar opposite. But sometimes you need that, and you becoming the opposite of what you don't, like seeing what you don't want all the time, more pushes you to where you want. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think as soon as you can identify who is the man that I want to be and what do I identify with, like I have two things I have in my bathroom mirror, like set questions I ask myself every single day, and almost like principles I live my life by. And one of the things I think about is like the 1% man principle of like being the man who doesn't sleep in, being the man who doesn't cheat on his diet, being the man who works really hard and trains every single day. Yeah. Like, and that's when you start to get confidence in yourself, because like you lose your confidence when you break your own promises to yourself.
Yeah. And I completely, like you're completely right. And I think that's so important too. When you wake up, think about the person you do actually want to be for the day. And I love that. What you have it written on your mirror. So
I think
what does it say?
The questions, the like daily ponders, questions to ponder is the questions one. It's like, what did I do today? What did I do yesterday? What was great? What am I doing in my life and why? What's the most important thing I need to achieve today? And I can't come up with the other one. I think it's like, why am I doing all of this? Question mark. Just reflection of like thinking, because then you suddenly think, and like, I think the last one might be, what am I doing today that, am I living my like, perfect day today? So like actually thinking, am I doing something I enjoy? And the other one in terms of like principles is basically like I'm respectful of other people's time. I turn up on time. I hold no addiction to like sugar, alcohol, caffeine, or any drugs. That I will turn up and work very, very hard every day. Work isn't work to me; it's play. Like just set principles of the way I want to try and like think and lead my life, so that I become the version of myself I want to be. Because I believe that every person has the ability to evolve, and I personally feel that every 2 to 3 years, I'm almost like in the game of like Call of Duty of life. I'm like leveling up, and the goal is to get to like the prestige level as fucking quickly as possible, get all the skins, and then just like smoke motherfuckers.
Let's get back to that. Remember the Call of Duty, right? Because I literally live my life by this, of what you just said. In terms of, you know what you said, like how you view life. Like I was brought up, I was big into gaming when I was
younger. So it's like Call of Duty 4, I wasted my A-levels playing that.
Yeah. The first thing I want to touch upon is you ask yourself, why are you doing this? I think it's really important. I'd had a client the other day who ended up going on a binge, and he went crazy on like a KFC binge. And
could have a better choice than that. But.
Yeah. But it's anybody who ever works with me knows I'm the biggest why man ever. If you speak to me, I'm going to say why, because why gets you to your next answer. I want to do this. Why? Sure, I'm going to answer you, but I just want to know the why. And like people like you've got the nail again. And a client came to me and was like, "Look, I fell off track at the bank holiday. Ended up in KFC." I says, "Cool."
I ended up in KFC. I tripped and fell, and my head landed in a bucket, and all the chicken fell in my mouth.
I woke up in KFC.
Maybe that's a Newcastle thing.
Yeah. And I said, you know, why did it happen? He says, I don't know. This is the worst answer you could ever give me. I says, why did it happen? I don't know. I says, but if you don't know, that's why it's bad. I says, you know, if you turn around and tell me, you know, I've worked so hard for a month, I've really, really knuckled down, I've lost 5 kilos, and I just wanted to treat myself, do you know what I would say? Fantastic. I really hope you enjoyed it. Are we back on track tomorrow?
No KFC tomorrow.
But the I don't know to why you're actually doing something, I think is the worst. And I think it's the same when it comes to business, same when it comes to your weight training, same when it comes to your health. Why am I doing this? Why am I struggling a bit today? Why am I finding it hard? I don't know. It's the worst answer you could give yourself. You know why you are, because you want the great outcome from doing it.
Also, people who don't ask that and don't self-reflect will also find they live lives of unhappiness.
Yeah.
So to give an example, the reason I decided not to compete and stop bodybuilding was that I was like, why the fuck am I even doing this?
You didn't know why.
And I was just doing it because I felt like I had to. Because I'd gone down that rabbit hole and I was like,
there's no turning back.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, but then I'm like, well, I don't really have to. Like, I can do whatever I want. And this is actually taking away to some degree. So it's like, I can just train and eat and be in really good shape and then not have to fucking bulk up. And then I can prioritize my health a bit more and then play loads of other sports and probably be more happy and fulfilled. So it's like, maybe I'll just go and do that thing.
Yeah. Going back to the Call of Duty, what you said, I have to bring this up. I was big into gaming when I was younger. Like, obviously, when...
Do you play James Hollingshead?
Huh?
Do you play James?
We have played together. Yeah.
Who's better? Who won? Brad v. James?
I was on a Warzone match. I played James. I think he's still smashing it. I think now we're playing on the same team. Okay. We teamed up. It's team bodybuilders.
Team Jack.
Yeah. Me, James Hollingshead, Regan Grimes, and somebody else.
Actually?
I forget who used to play the fourth guy. We used to play the Warzone. And it was, in terms of like before then, like I'm going way back to like when I always used to play like with them guys. I wasn't playing much. But kind of back in when I probably just left school, I wasn't really wanting to go out and party. I would just go home and play games. Like that's kind of what I would do. Train, play games all the time. And it's so weird in everyday life now of how much kind of I've advanced. I still revert everything back to the games that I played. And what I mean by that, you literally hit the nail on the head, is if I see somebody, okay, let's talk bodybuilding. I see Andrew Jacked in the gym. Yeah. He's like 10th prestige. You know, like when the guy used to join the lobby and it was like, fuck, have you seen how good he is? But I see that as like 10th prestige. Yeah. Okay, guys with the business, guy drives past in a Bugatti or a Rolls Royce. He's like 10th prestige. And I view everything like that. And it's the day you ever become 10th prestige, when you got to that max level, the biggest thing that I could relate back to that I did was grind. Head down, knuckle down. Sometimes I had a headache. Most days I had a headache and I wanted to get off and take a break, but I didn't. I just stayed there and I kept doing it and I worked harder and I stayed consistent and I was disciplined at doing it. And you had to keep playing well, because if you play shit, you have to play longer. And I think I relate everything to life.
I think there's a lot you can take from video games that I apply into life. So I want to make my life like the real Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. And Dubai's a bit like that. For anyone who's been. Between like, but almost like I make the world is like my playground. So like I'm going to the Maldives next week. I was in Paris 2 weeks ago. I was in Miami 2 weeks before that. I'm going to California in 2 weeks. So like for me, that's the way I see it. It's like I want to become the person that can then play the video game in real life. If I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want, wherever the fuck I want, and then you become the ultimate version of yourself. And that's where life is a game of skill acquisition. So like, even if at the moment I summarized, I have a speaking coach, I have a golf coach, I have a paddle coach, I have a trainer in the gym, I have an online coach, I have a business coach, I have probably something else. Like I have people helping me trying to learn as much as I can, because I'm trying to get to 10 prestige. Yeah,
because you like your own skin, you know, when you used to get the character. And here's the thing, like if you played a game and you designed your character, you know, when you walked in a shop and you walk back out, you won't walk back out looking fucking fat and like wear clothes that you wouldn't want to wear. You wouldn't get in a car that you didn't want to get in. Like if it was a game, you would design your game. And that's the same way I view your life. It's like,
but this is the fucking reality, is that people are designing the shit game in their real life, but they're making their perfect game in the fake life.
Yes.
And the reality is like, why don't you take the virtual world into the real world, and you can do it, but people aren't willing to do the difficult things. They're not willing to do the work or have the conversation with the girl they want to be with, or put the fucking cookie down, or not fall into KFC. Like, and that's the reality, is that every choice you make in life is either doing one of two things: taking you towards where you want to be or away. There's never a neutral decision.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. And I always think discipline seems a big thing at the time, but it's so small you wouldn't even ever realize it down the line. Like when it comes to, we went out the other day with friends, and it's my birthday at the weekend, and I know I'm going to go out and enjoy food, and I stick to a diet plan every day. So I know I'm going to enjoy food at the weekend, so I thought, I don't want to eat tonight, but I'm not there to eat. I'm there to socialize.
Yeah.
I'm there to spend time with my friends. If we go out, I don't feel obliged that I have to eat. I'm happy to have a Diet Coke and us to chat, because that's what I'm there for. And the food's there and everything's there. And of course, something triggers in my mind to be like, I would fancy eating tonight. I wouldn't mind getting some food. And then you don't. And then you kind of feel like, a bit bad for like 1 minute. But then everyone else is leaving the restaurant with, feeling sick, bloated stomach. The food was okay, it wasn't that good. But then you literally feel amazing. And you wake up the next day and you're back on it. And I feel like you have to do that. Let's go back to the game.
It's a cheat code.
Like, when you get like fighting strength, endurance strength, like swimming strength, you've got to get all these different strengths, and depends what games that you play. I feel like you get more discipline strength, but I feel like you have to be challenged to get that discipline strength. Like, okay, there's your challenge, complete it, then go +1. And then you get someone like, for example, I can go somewhere and not eat. Doesn't, but you could put a cake there and I won't touch it. I have clients to be like, how? Because my discipline strength's really high, but I had to practice at it. Would you relate to that?
I'll give a great example. One of my team pulled me on this the other day. He's actually one of my oldest friends, Jack. Actually, you might have met him at one of our events. So me and him lived together when we were 18 years old, and he said on a call the other day about like how anything's a learnable skill. It's like, remember when we lived together when 18? You were like the most fucking unorganized, messy person, the entire human being, and now look at you, like super organized. You've got a fucking color-coded calendar and like a team of 47 people work for you. I was like, yeah, everything is a learnable skill. Like, I was slightly retarded at like 18 to 22. I wasn't retarded, but like just all over the place, and lacked direction, lacked guidance, because I didn't have a version of me to help me, which is why now my big mission is to try and help people who are the younger version of myself. And there's a saying, I don't know if this relates to you, is that the adult develops to protect the child. So like you become the man you want to become to protect the younger version of you, whether it's becoming like big and strong and jacked or successful or whatever it is, to maybe overcome that you were bullied as a child or you felt insignificant. Yeah. And when you start to think about that, I heard that and I was like, fuck, that really relates.
Yeah. And you clearly found your why, as in why, well, either it'll make you cry when you talk about it, it'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And I don't think that's a weakness, but I think that's a passion. I don't think the crying behind it or tearing up is a weakness. I think that's a passion. But I think that's when you've really found your why. There's a great guy that I watched one time, and he was like asking the question, why do you want to get in shape? Why do you want to do this? And he was just giving answers. I want to lose 10 pounds. He's like, that's not your why. He's like, it is. He's like, it's not. He's like, how do you know? He's like, because you're not crying yet. Does it like you're not emotional about it yet?
One of the things I'd recommend every single person does, and this is very strange. It was a very strange experience. I'll explain why. Is go and do a John Berardi event. So I did this. John DeMartini.
This is who I got it from.
Okay, there you go. So it sounded like him. So John Berardi runs Precision Nutrition.
This was on a live webinar with John DeMartini.
So a friend of mine told me about John DeMartini. He said like he went. I was not struggling, but I was like, not saying I felt lost in life. This was maybe 7 months ago, but. First world problems, like you're successful, you have money, and like I can do whatever I want, and you just feel sometimes like unfulfilled, which sounds like a retarded situation, but sometimes you find you lack to understand what your values are sometimes, in particular when you're in somewhere like Dubai, which can manipulate the way you think a little bit. So I went to this event in Turkey on my own, turned up, and ironically, there was me and probably 4 other white people there who spoke English. There was 96 probably Turkish women in this room, and then John DeMartini. So John sort of singled me out. We did a lot of stuff together, but it was like half the room were fucking like crying the whole time, and like it was a lot of like really weird, intense stuff. But that was a really profound thing that changed my perspective on a lot of things, but also allowed me to actually understand the values of what I wanted in life, which I had completely wrong, which is really when I decided like, yeah, this bodybuilding thing is probably not for me, because my top 3 values in terms of what I wanted was, I thought it was like wealth. It's not as I wanted freedom.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted was to be in great shape and like physically fit and confident in the way I want to be athletic, strong, jacked and look good. And then third thing was to travel. And ironically, why I felt unfulfilled was, I was just thought I was chasing money to some degree that would make me happy, but I didn't really understand why. And I was just chasing success for success's sake. I didn't feel in great shape, and I was like been bulking for like a year and just felt like shit, and just eating, force feeding food down. And it was just like, what the point of this? And thirdly, I wasn't traveling because also as much as I wanted, because it's like need to stay in bodybuilder routine and like need to obsess over this, and like you can't leave your business alone because like you need to be here like grinding. And I think sometimes you need to take your foot a little bit off the accelerator if you're very type A, and it will actually allow you to go faster. And an expression I'd say with that is that slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That sometimes like you actually not burning yourself out, like I said earlier, allows you to go quicker because you have more energy in your tank of your brain to make better decisions, to look at the battleground of life, to be like, where should I deploy my resources and time? And I say battlefield of life because I look at everything almost like it's war. Like even my girlfriend says to me, like sometimes you feel like you're going to war when you're going back to Dubai to work. It's like, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, like you said earlier, it's like fucking player versus player.
Yes.
So either like the client's coming to me or they're going to someone else.
Yes.
And like, it's not for me, one of my other highest values is competition. I'm inherently very fucking competitive. So it's not about money. It's also that I know I can help someone better than anyone else. And I also want to beat someone else.
Yeah.
So like when you also start to understand the games of what motivates you, it's interesting. And the last thing I'll say on this point is that my speaking coach said this to me actually, was that if you're not allowed to compete, like be competitive with people, you're not allowed to train ever again, and you're not allowed to teach people stuff, and you're not allowed to travel, but I'll give you $1 billion right now. Would you take it? And I was like, fuck, it's like $1 billion. I was like, no, I can't, because I'd be completely unfulfilled and wouldn't be able to do anything I wanted to do. And when you think about that, you're like, all these things I do every day are actually worth more than being a billionaire.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Love that. Love it. And it's what you said. It's like everything is a game. Everything is player versus player. That doesn't mean you can't play as a team, because, you know, I help a lot of people level up in all aspects, and like yourself do as well, in terms of business and physique and everything like that. But I feel like it's the ones willing to create a small circle of a team will outplay the other guys in the jungle to get to the other side. Like I view everything like here's another crazy analogy of how I view life. I view it like what's the movie called where it's kind of like a bit of a war zone, but let's think of a movie where everyone's kind of dropped on an island, there's a jungle, right? Okay. And you have to make it to the other side, and you can either go around the outskirts where it's really long, it's boring, that's kind of just the normal boring way, or you can take the direct way of the highway through the middle. But I think that's where a lot of the 18 players are, the harder characters, the harder obstacles. Yeah. This is how I view everything. And I feel like, you know, you can team up together to do it. Yeah. Whether you need more strength, whether you need to be in better shape, whether you need a better business, whether you need more kind of emotional support, whatever it might be, I feel like you can team up with people and make your way through it. And that's how I view everything. You know, when it comes to physique development, I worked with coaches when I competed, and I don't think that's a bad thing. When it comes to business people and finances, I work with people, you know, like there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like the more kind of an open mindset that you have to that, you're able to level up more as a person. Because, I don't know, like, what's your opinion on this? I feel like a lot of males especially are stubborn. And I feel like that comes to a lot of down maybe a mental health route. You know, when a lot of people don't actually speak to somebody and be like, I am struggling, I do actually need help. I feel like a lot of males are stubborn. Like, if you're out of shape and you're still trying to get in shape, or you still don't like the way you look when you put your top on, or you're still not confident with your misses, go to the right person and be like, look, keep it between us. Can you please help me? Yeah, sure.
And this is where my entire life changed. I had trained obviously like pretty much all my life from 17 to maybe 24, 25. First time I really got in good shape and got abs and actually did a photo shoot was I hired a coach.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
He just told me what to do and I did it and I got really good results. I was like, I wonder what other areas of life this applies to. And now this is why I'm like, get a speaking coach, I do this, I do that, I do this. Because I'm like, what else do I not know that I can? I'll give you a good example. I had a golf lesson earlier, right? And I'm terrible at fucking like chipping.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you're supposed to hold like further down the grip so like you shorten the club.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, I was like, this is like 50% easier. But if I didn't know that and I played for 10 years of making mistakes.
Or you spend 10 years figuring out to know that.
Rather than be like, I'd pay the dude like 80 quid to be like, yeah, just grip further down the club. I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
And this is what people don't realize, like what you don't know, you don't know.
Yes.
And these are the things that are fucking you over. So whether that's you not making the money you want or you not getting the great shape you want, all these things are holding you back becoming from the greatest version of yourself. Mm-hmm. Getting the woman you want, the family you want, the house you want, car you want, whatever it is. And that's where you're paying a huge amount of ignorance tax every single month because of your own ignorance that you're not willing to be open-minded and ask someone for help.
Yeah, yeah. And I think 100% what you said, and the more you understand that life is transaction of service, I feel like the more I start to view everything better. To sit here and do this podcast, it cost. To put the top on this morning, it cost. To put your watch on, it cost. To do your hair, it cost. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's a transaction service of everything.
Everything in life has a cost.
Literally everything you do, every step that you take, there's some sort of transaction service there. And it's exactly like you said. It's like you can spend the next 10 years figuring out how to play golf than someone just fix the 10 years of golf mistakes in the space of a couple of weeks. And then after that, you just really need to practice and start getting good at it.
And this is what people don't understand is that you only have one life. So why don't you max it out now?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Because the reality is that the worst thing you're going to have is regrets when you're older.
Yeah.
Like no one, when there's like the 80-year-old is going to be like, oh, I wish I had like less cool stories.
Yeah.
I wish I did less exciting things. I wish I took less risks.
Yeah.
Like they never are. They wish they did more. And that's where like you documenting cool shit on your Instagram or like one of the things I really like doing is like documenting like YouTube videos and stuff because for me, that's legacy beyond when I'm alive because when I have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, then I'll be able to look back of like, yeah, that was Charlie when we lived in Dubai and he was doing this fucking weird, crazy shit. Like they can see you at 34, 33, 32, 24, whatever. Like it's, and that when you think about it, it's insane. Because what value for your grandchildren to be able to see you at your current age or you to be able to look back. And I look back sometimes, I was almost on tears. I was like, I looked back on a plane at like old, that's what the most you talk about, like old videos of me when I was younger. I was like, fuck me. Like when you see how far you've come, it's interesting.
It's amazing.
But it only feels like a fucking blink away.
But do you ever feel like it wasn't actually that long ago?
Yeah, all the time.
It's crazy.
This is the reality is like, people want to become a millionaire, but I trade everything to become 19 again.
Right. Yeah.
But then I also think that like now at 34, days and I'm stressed, I'm like, well, when I'm 40 and I'm super successful, whatever, I'll trade everything to be 34. To try and also embrace the moment, which is now why like I'm I'm allowing myself to do things every day that I enjoy.
Yeah. How old are you?
34.
34 now. 34 now. Yeah.
But I look 24, right?
You're good for 34.
It's the Botox, don't tell anyone.
But yeah, like 100%. Like I think they're the massive points to touch upon. I think anybody to take anything away from this is, I don't know, like I think we view things very similar. I think that's why we got a really good friendship. It's like you said, it's, I feel like
Similar values.
life to me is a game, but it's not a joke. Does that make sense? It's not a joke.
It can end at any point.
Yeah, it can end at any point, and I can live with knowing that I give everything in every aspect. I did what I could to get to where I want to be. It's like, I will say what seems hard, at the beginning of the year and you achieve it now is now easy. And what seems impossible next year becomes possible. But I feel like in order to make that switch, it happens here before it happens physically.
Greatness is when you turn your delusions into reality.
Yeah. It's good.
So when you think about it, if I look back when I was 27 and an estate agent before I started an online business, that I'd be, and I don't mean this to gloat, but like living in Dubai, being multimillionaire, I've got 2 7-figure businesses, multiple properties, all this other stuff, I'd be like, it's fucking insane. But that's just normal. And even, I don't realize, but when I film with like my videographer Joe, he's like, your life's fucking retarded, like the weird shit you do. But for me, that's just normal. But also it's a point of reflection of why it's important to look back, because when you have moments of self-doubt, for anyone listening to this, you can also see how far you've come, which is one of the biggest things I see with a lot of entrepreneurs I work with, is that everyone suffers from self-doubt and moments of questioning yourself, myself included. But when you look back and you can see how far you've come and see how much you've accomplished and how much you progressed and how many wins you've stacked, that's when like the ability to no longer feel like an imposter just dissipates.
Yeah. And you know what? It's, of all the very, very, very wealthy friends that I have, or anybody, they all still get in the gym and train. So that just goes to show it doesn't matter what you have, they never ever forget their health. And that is the most important thing to them.
It's the foundation of everything. It's the only thing that no one can buy, no matter how much money you have, which is why when you're in great shape, you will always get instant respect from someone.
Yeah, love that, love that. Anything else you'd like to end on? I think this was really...
the biggest thing I'd say for everyone is that Brad is definitely someone that everyone should look up to, and in particular in terms of your mindset and the way you look upon things. And you're a great leader in terms of the tribe of people you have. And the thing I'd say for anyone who's listening to this, who's maybe been inspired in terms of like what you can do, is just start and just try and take messy action and just fall forwards. That like success is guaranteed, speed is not. So just start, figure out step by step. And whether it's fitness stuff with Brad, where I've got my own fitness channel as well, or business stuff, like I have a YouTube channel, Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems. We have everything under the sun in terms of like mindset, building businesses, whatever you want, like step by step. And the big thing that I'm really focusing on is trying to help the younger version of myself in terms of what I'm putting out there, which I really enjoy. And if anyone also wants, we've got a free lead generation course, which is our 4C course, which I can give you the link for. We can drop in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much
for
coming on, Charlie.
Thank you.
All right.